if I could go to home plate and try to put an umbrella over all of this, the school committee is trying to reduce our budget by roughly $700,000 to get to the cap. And we're going to the financial town meeting hoping to get $690,000, which is the 4.5% cap the way we calculated it. You add those two numbers together, if we get $1 more, the school committee is going to have to restructure, re-engineer the school department by $1,400,000 in 1 year. And it's going to be monumental. We've calculated that if we put the 4th grade in the middle school, close Pecasset, we'd save $400,000. That's not $1.4 million. We'd have to go looking for $1 million more than just closing one school. We're looking at a major change in the school system if funding doesn't come through, at least at the financial town meeting. And don't know where the other $1 million is coming from. It's going to have to be cut programs.
Labor.
It could be labor. It all could be labor. If we simply got the teachers to concede $10,000 each teacher in a reduced benefit and wage package, we'd have $1.8 million. That's more than $1.4 million, but I think we need maybe $400,000 for our attorney after we did it.
Nice.
But that's not a very bright picture for our employment picture. That's not one that I even consider recommending. $10,000 cut in benefits per person. So we have a monumental number here that we're dealing with. That we dealt with last year when we got $1 more. The school committee was talking about how do we handle that cut that we got. And we looked at closing schools, we looked at closing programs, we looked at reducing sports and music. And luckily, the federal government came through with Obama money, and it put a Band-Aid on it for us. Well, the Obama money's not here. And if we get $1 more 2 years in a row, we have to readjust for 2 years in a row. And I think the town and the school department needs to communicate before the financial town meeting of what the school system would look like with $1.4 million less in income.
Lenny, we're in the same boat sitting over
You have $1.4 million too.
We have $1.4 million that, a reduction and, looking at the numbers, so I do understand where you guys are coming from because we're in the same boat. And the restructuring to make $1.4 million, on your side is done off a $25 million budget and ours is done off 12. So it's literally twice as high.
Right.
But so we both have, and this is why we're sitting here talking about numbers.
Townwide, we're doing $2.8 million. Plus, you have the unfavorable cost increases that we have. 19% increase in healthcare. We have a busing contract that's coming up that's 3 years old. Oil was at $40 a barrel a while back. It's $80 a barrel now. We expect the busing contract to come in higher, $211,000 higher possibly. That would have, if we paid that busing contract, we're going to have to do less in education. So there could be a major restructuring of the school department, which could affect all the parents, all the students, and anyone that has a house in town. Because we'll no longer be the town that people will look at as real estate as valuable because they have a decent school system.
Here's another issue with it. You're sort of raising it with the picture that you're painting. And this is really, really unfair to Mr. Giganti, and I apologize in advance for this question.
Just shoot, I can take it.
But about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, you were interviewed. And you made the comment, and I thought someday I'll ask him what he means by this. And your comment was, I see these type of budget increases for the foreseeable future. Do you remember saying that? And my reaction, the thought that I had is, and this is the concern here we are in a recession, and we're talking about 4.5% increase on the school side, and looking for an increase on the town side. And my question was, I just looking at it's not as though we're looking in isolation at 1 year here, and we can say, well, this is one bump we have to go over. This won't happen again. There'll be relief next year, the year after that, the year after that. But I just get the impression, and it was suggested really, Mr. Begani, by the comment he made, that we can look to these type of increases for the foreseeable future. And my reaction was, what does that mean? I mean, now and at that time, I think it was being reported in the paper that there was something like a suggestion that you needed like a 9% increase in your budget, so something like that. And that's why I say it's unfair. But I guess the concern I have is here we are in a recession, and we're telling people, well, you've got to expect 4.5%. You might get another 2% from the town. Okay, expect another 5 or 6%. Does this ever come to an end? I guess part of my concern is I don't really believe that these type of tax increases in a town like Tiverton are sustainable for any period of time. I mean, eventually, to address an issue that Mr. Wright just brought up, I mean, we're going to destroy property values. We'll have people leaving Tiverton because they can't afford to live here. And if we're talking about these type of increases in a recession, and I know it's difficult, but I know you fellows have a difficult job, and I'm looking at these numbers and I'm saying, here we are in a recession. I hate to think what's going to happen if we ever have good times here again.
Well,
Just a thought, just a thought.
Oh, I
You
should
know,
respond to your thought.
Just to respond to that a little bit. We're sitting here all hanging crepe, okay? But, you know, this is what we do. We hang crepe, schools, town, etc. But we're not looking at sort of the big picture. And I had prepared this schedule of just, we have not estimated a dime for any car tax reimbursement. And I see the assessor leaning against the post back there. But last year, we had a $1.4 million on the docket of revenue. Car tax reimbursement. Gone, or what may or may not be gone. The governor is saying we're going to give that taxing power back to the town. $1.4 million, if it were made up, and I know the league is proposing this, that those monies would come back, the town would be able to tax a car for the, up to that. We always had that power until the legislature took it away. Even bringing in that kind of revenue would have an impact on what we're doing here. So our focus as a town should be to grab our representatives and senators, because that money, if it comes in, would be exempt from the cap calculation. The league is pushing that. We should be all exactly forcing that. We're just replacing the state aid. Now the governor has said, hey, we're going to put it on the local communities. We're not going to reimburse you. But it will come. It will mean a substantial amount in this town. So before we all sit around and hang crepe forever, I think we should really focus on getting our representatives to get some momentum at the General Assembly and see where we are and have a clarification of that issue.
I could respond to Mr. Lambert because obviously I don't know where you found this exact quote, or
No, it's not very
probably
exact.
out of, oh, correct. It had to be out of context because obviously we are not, we work really hard, and I strongly believe that the taxes should not increase by over the cap for even 1 year. I'm not talking about 9% over many years.